I got a comment on one of my videos about mixing Americana-style music. The comment was about vocal EQ. I thought about typing out a thoughtful response, and then I thought to myself, why not just make a video about it so that this person could learn and y'all could learn as well. So the comment reads, "Grateful for this video. I'm having an Emperor's New Clothes moment though. Can all of you really hear the difference between the unprocessed vocal and the EQ'd vocal? I lean in and strain and pretend that I can hear it when I'm mixing, but I just can't. I'm fine if the answer is it's subtle, most of us can't hear it, but the aggregate effect is what we're after. But if my ears just don't work properly, I should be able to figure that out now." So the short answer is yes, you should be able to hear it. But the fact that you can't is probably not your fault right now. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to train your ears to hear EQ, because eventually you will be able to tell the difference. First, you want to make sure that you're in a good listening environment. If you're playing speakers in an untreated room where everything's bouncing off of everything else, you probably won't be able to hear the difference very well. A little bit of sound treatment in your studio can go a long way for being able to hear certain frequencies in your EQ. If you're using headphones, you want to make sure that the headphones that you're using are flat response, meaning that the package didn't say anything like bass boost or anything like that. The ones that I like to use are the One Audio Studio 10 DJ headphones. They're very inexpensive, around $30, and I found that they're really good at flat response. Now that we have a proper listening environment, let's dive in by opening up an EQ on a vocal. I picked this vocal because it's particularly boxy. It sounds really flat. There's nothing exciting going on in the microphone. The singer's doing a really good job, so let's help her out. So I'm going to go ahead and play the vocal for you completely the way it is. There is no effects on here, no reverb, no compression, no EQ, nothing. And I'm just going to play the isolated vocal for you.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call. Just know I am in love.
So there's going to be things in this EQ that you are not going to be able to hear, but you know you need to get rid of them. That's why we use high pass. The reason we're going to high pass this vocal, which means making a cut in the low end and bringing that over, is because all of this stuff right here from 0 to about 80K isn't really audible on its own. However, when you have multiple tracks stacked on top of each other, this will start to create mud. So we just want to get rid of it because we don't need it in anything that's not a bass instrument, especially a vocal. The reason it creates mud is because of those headphones I was talking about where it has the bass boost, or in a car where they've like treated the sound to make it more bassy or in your face. Once we go into those listening environments with those treated hi-fi speakers, all of this just starts doubling up, tripling up, quadrupling up on itself and creating that mud in your mix. So even though technically you can't hear it, you still need to get rid of it. If I play that same part again with just this cut, you will not be able to hear the difference.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call. Just know I...
So that's one EQ that you won't be able to hear the difference, but is necessary. All right, let's talk about the other ranges in the EQ spectrum here. This area right here, between 200 and 500, is what's causing that vocal to sound a little boxy and muddled a little bit. So if we just do a little scoop in that area, you'll start to be able to hear how that vocal is brightening up. A good way to prove this to yourself is to just make any band. Then we're going to make it a little bit smaller, and we're going to boost it way up. And we're going to drag it across the vocal as it's playing. And this trains your ears to go, oh yeah, there is a weird frequency there. So let's just go ahead and do a full sweep of the entire vocal, and you'll be able to audibly hear the changes in EQ.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call. Just know I am in love.
Did you hear the difference as we sweep? You hear the boxiness, then you hear the nasaliness, then you hear the high end, then you hear the sibilants, and then you hear the S's. This is a great way to train your ear. Just get into the EQ and just start sweeping across any instrument, really. But in a vocal, you can start to pick up, oh, hey, this is where these frequencies are coming in. Now we're going to go through section by section and show you how or why not to cut those certain frequencies from your vocal, or to boost those frequencies in your vocal if you'd like them to be a certain way. So we noticed when we did the EQ sweep up that this whole section sounded a little bit boxy. I'll play it again for you.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
So if we have a vocal that's a little bit boxy, we can go ahead and do a scoop in this section like this one. If we have a vocal that's a little too bright and needs a little bit more body, we can do a boost in this section. So it's up to you to decide what you want your vocal to sound like and how it was recorded. For this particular vocal, we're just going to do a little scoop to brighten the vocal and remove some of that boxy undertone.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
So you should be able to hear the difference already. I'm going to do it in bypass and then turn it back on for you. Bypass.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
This is on.
Just know I am in love.
You should be able to hear that difference. Again, if you can't hear the difference, train your ears by boosting frequencies and sweeping across until you start to hear things. You can also do this with a cut, if that helps you learn. The next section we're going to talk about is right here. This is going to be like your nasally section, like the 2 to 5K, as if the singer is like, hi, I'm singing a song. That is where you want to do any kind of scoop to kind of get rid of that. Let's see if there is a nasally difference in this area.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
Especially in that, and if you, that sounds very nasally to me. So I might just do a little bit of a cut and search around until I can get rid of that noise.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her. So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
Sounds great. Another way we can get rid of that is by using a multiband compressor that compresses that section when it gets a little crazy. Now we're going to talk about what I like to call the sparkle section, which is raising up the highs in the vocal in order to receive just a little bit of brightness in the voice. So that's going to be anywhere from 5 to 20K. Now, you have to be careful in this section because this is also our syllabus range for S sounds. What we can do is EQ this to have the sparkle and then add a de-esser after to get rid of the harsh S's but still keep the brightness inside our voice. So we're just going to do a shelf and I'm going to make it as dramatic as possible for you and then I'm going to bring it down.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
So that's really dramatic. It's very airy. We don't want that, especially in our Americana rock. So we're going to just grab it and we're going to bring it down until it sounds pleasant.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call. So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
So now we have a little bit of brightness and sparkle in the vocal. Now, if we were doing like a rock vocal or something that is really beefy, we can bring this air down. We could even bring up the mid-tones like in the last video I did. But we just want to make sure that we're not overdoing it with the EQ. And if you want your vocal to be just a little brighter, you could even move in this high-pass filter just a little bit.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call. Just know I.
And now we have this nice EQ'd vocal. It's very bright, feels nice. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on all the other items so you can see how this is going to sound. So we have a de-esser, our first compressor, a second set of compressors, and our RVox. I'm going to show you how this sounds with the EQ bypass with all the effects on it. And then I'm going to turn the EQ on and show you the difference. So this is a bypass EQ with all effects.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
You see how the boxiness and everything is way up? Let's put on this EQ and see if you can hear the difference.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
And I might even do just a little bit more of a cut on this, just to get it a little brighter.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
Now let's hear how all that sounds with the reverb, the blending, everything in the mix with the EQ off, and then I'll show you with the EQ on, and you should be able to hear a difference.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call.
And this is that same section with the EQ on.
So if the rain falls, let it fall. And if your mom calls, let her call. Just know I am in love.
You can really see how the EQ took the vocal from being a little muddy, a little boxy, not very bright, and it just enhanced everything. And if you're still having trouble hearing this, all you need to do is a little bit of ear training with the EQ. Really open the EQ up and do those high sweeps and low sweeps to see what frequencies are being affected. This will train your ear. Also remember to check your listening environment. Make sure you have sound treatment if you're using monitors, and make sure that your headphones are flat response, not hi-fi, and don't add any color to your mix. I really hope this helped you out and answered your question. If you have any more questions about it, or if you're still confused, go ahead and drop a comment and I'll do my best to answer. And because I am a small creator, I'm always happy to answer your questions. And if I can't type out an answer, I will take the time to make you a video just like this one. Thank you so much, James, for your question. I hope I helped you and everyone else struggling to learn EQ.